NotebookLM is often praised for being a learning revolution, doesn't hallucinate, and it's a note-taking system. All of that sounds impressive, but honestly, that's not the real reason you should care about it. What actually makes Notebook powerful is how smart the product is designed. It's built to reduce the mental effort required to work with information, from gathering it, to making sense of it, to finally turning it into something useful. So instead of thinking of it as just another AI tool, it's better to see NotebookLM as a workflow product, and in many ways, a very strategic move by Google to keep you working inside their AI workspace. Before we talk about how NotebookLM really works, we first need to clear up a few misconceptions. Not because these ideas are completely wrong, but because they quietly block you from seeing where the real value actually is. The first misconception is the idea that NotebookLM is some kind of learning revolution. That isn't completely wrong, but it can quietly mislead you into thinking the product will magically do the learning for you. And when that happens, you start to assume that processing information is the same as learning, or shortening content automatically leads to real understanding. What NotebookLM actually does is create a better learning environment, and it reshapes dense documents into formats that support reasoning and sense-making. You are still the one doing the learning, but the environment makes high-quality learning much easier to achieve. Another thing people love to say about NotebookLM is that it doesn't hallucinate, that it's safer because all of its answers are grounded in your sources. And sure, that sounds great, but hearing people celebrate that as the big value kind of feels like saying an oven is amazing because it bakes food. So let's slow down for a second and talk about what actually causes hallucinations. Hallucinations happen when a model has to operate under uncertainty, when it's missing context or it has to guess and extend beyond the information it actually knows. The less grounded the system is, the more it has to improvise. NotebookLM reduces that risk mainly by constraining the context. You are working inside a defined set of sources, which naturally limits ungrounded speculation. But here's the key, that idea isn't unique. You can get almost the same behavior in ChatGPT or Claude just by saying something like, ground all answers in the provided sources. So if you treat no hallucination as the main benefit, you're actually missing the real point. What NotebookLM really does differently is giving you a far more control over what goes in, because grounded answers are only as good as the sources underneath them. If you input a weak, incomplete, or low quality, the output won't necessarily be wrong. It will just become confidently polished garbage. And later in this video, I will show you how to improve it. Another common belief is that NotebookLM is simply a place to take notes. That's not wrong, but again, it doesn't really match how the product is designed today. In reality, you're probably still going to use tools like Notion, Obsidian, or Google Docs for note-taking, especially if you want to connect everything into a system or build a structured database. NotebookLM is trying to do something more than just taking notes. It's guiding us toward a new way of thinking about how information should be processed with AI. Instead of focusing on where do I store this note, NotebookLM is much more about how do I actually work with this information. And you can probably already feel this shift happening, because using AI effectively to process information is becoming the new golden skill. We have so many powerful tools now, but turning them into real leverage isn't just about learning features. It requires upgrading how your brain thinks and works with information in the first place. If you're interested in that journey, make sure to subscribe and follow along, because that's exactly what we explore on this channel. Now let's come back to NotebookLM. The product is actually very easy to use, and that's because it's designed to do just one job, to keep you in a single mental flow from your sources all the way through to your outputs. Like I mentioned earlier, it is built around one question: how do I work with this information? And it guides you through a simple workflow: discovery, interaction, and transformation. The interface in this product mirrors this workflow exactly. On the left, you have sources. This is where your information lives, where you discover and collect the material you want to work with. In the middle, you have chat, and this is where the thinking happens. You ask questions, compare ideas, test assumptions, and clarify meaning. And on the right, you have the outputs panel, where all of that thinking turns into something usable, like a summary, a study guide, or even an audio overview. Now, let's work through each phase of the workflow and look at where the real power of NotebookLM actually is. We'll start with discovery, the input layer. After you create a new notebook, the first thing you'll see is a pop-up window. And here you have to make your first decision. Are you going to search the web to add sources, or are you going to upload your own files as sources? These are done as separate steps, but either way, everything you add eventually shows up together in your notebook sources list. And if you want to search on the spot, the most important thing to understand is the difference between fast research and deep research. I actually generated this infographic inside NotebookLM, and I'm going to use this process as the demo opportunity to show you how to sync with NotebookLM and how much control you actually have. So first, we start with the prompt to kick everything off. In my case, what I want to understand is the difference between fast research and deep research. In NotebookLM, including what each mode is designed for, and when a user should choose one over the other. And I specifically want information from Google's own documentation, not third-party summaries. So the prompt reflects exactly that goal. Search the web for information published by Google about NotebookLM's two research modes, fast research and deep research. My goal is to clearly explain these to new users when they first choose a research mode, focusing on user intent and the decision point. Please prioritize Google official resources. You'll see that NotebookLM has gathered all the sources in the left panel. Before you import them, you don't really get much of an overview. You can open each one in a new tab if you want. But honestly, most of the time, you probably won't bother. You'll just import them all at once. Once you've imported everything, that's when you really start to get control. NotebookLM marks any problematic sources in red, so you can immediately see which ones need attention. You can access the action from the little icon on the left. For error sources, you can remove them one by one, or use the master option to remove all failed sources at once. For regular sources, you can rename them or delete them if you don't need them anymore. If you click on sources, you will see a summary of the content, and just below that, there's a list of keywords. These are texts that describe the main themes of the article. I'm going to close that view by clicking this collapse button to go back to my main notebook layout. To manage these sources better, I'm going to rename them. If this is a workspace you actually want to reuse, I'd definitely recommend you doing the same. I'm using a simple, consistent format to organize everything: source, type, topic, and publisher. You can rename them manually if you want, but in my case, I'm just going to use an AI agent to do it for me. If you want to learn more about AI agents, I've made a couple of videos and you can find links in the description, and more are coming. After a couple of minutes, the agent finishes renaming everything. Now every source clearly shows what it's about and where it came from. Everything is organized and instantly scannable, which makes a huge difference when I come back to work on it later. NotebookLM becomes much more powerful once your sources are clearly labeled, because you are not just reading information anymore. You are choosing which type of information you want to work with, all inside the same environment. So if I'm doing analysis and I want external perspectives, I can focus the conversation on the news sources. But if I need official product accurate information, I can intentionally base the discussion in the Google or NotebookLM documentation. This level of control over which sources the AI is reasoning from, that flexibility, being able to shape the information environment before you start syncing with the AI, is something you simply don't get in most chat-based AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude. This is one of the biggest power in NotebookLM, and this ties right back to why correcting those earlier misconceptions matters so much. Because if you start with the wrong framing, like it's just a note-taking app, or it's mainly good because it doesn't hallucinate, you end up waste energy on things just don't bring result. So now these are all the sources, so let's move on to the second phase of the workflow, interaction. When we interact with information, what we are really doing is structuring our thinking. And most of the time, we're doing a few very specific things. We try to understand something that feels confusing. We compare different ideas or perspectives. We verify claims and assumptions. We organize messy information into something structured. Or we try to decide what actually matters and what doesn't. For our specific decision question, when should I use fast research versus deep research? This is very much a comparative sense-making task. So we could ask questions about product intent, workflow mechanism, output types, use cases, and more. For this demo, I'm going to focus mainly on three things: the product intent, the workflow differences, and the best scenarios for each mode. So these are the questions I asked. Across these sources, how does Google describe the primary purposes of fast research compared to deep research? What are the key workflow and output differences between them? What types of research goals or user scenarios are best suited? And at this point, you could just read each answer one by one, or you can use different formats to help you understand it more clearly. For example, we can ask the AI to generate a comparison table. So now we know that fast research is designed for quick orientation. It scans the web or your drive and returns a small set of highly relevant sources in under a minute, which makes it perfect when you just need a focused starting point or want to review a topic before committing. For example, maybe you've got a meeting coming up and you want to quickly understand a topic. Deep research, on the other hand, is built for bigger questions. It autonomously digests a large number of sources, identifies its gaps, and produces a structured, multi-page briefing grounded in citations, which makes it a much better fit for complex topics or long-form work. For example, imagine you're going through an online courses or a lecture series, and you want to build a clear, coherent mental model. Or maybe you work in HR and you need to design an onboarding system for the company. Now let's talk about the final phase of this workflow, transformation. This is another big reason why NotebookLM is so powerful. It doesn't just stop at giving you answers. It goes on one step further and helps you turn information into formats your brain can actually use. And that matters because real understanding doesn't come from simply reading more text. It comes from re-encoding information. So these pre-built output formats aren't just a cute feature, they're actually a really smart product decision. They improve the quality of learning, and because everything happens inside the same workspace, you stay more engaged with the material. And the best part? These output formats are available even on the free plan. So we got 8 formats here, and it can be roughly categorized like this. For sense making, you got mind map and infographic. For communication and passive learning, you got audio overview and video overview. For learning reinforcement, you have flashcards and quiz. For presentation and explaining to others, you have reports and slide deck. Let's first look at the mind map and infographic. Infographic is one of my favorites, so let me show you how it works. And this process is basically the same for all the other outputs. You click the edit button and a pop-up window appears. This is where you choose the type of infographic you want to generate. For now, I'll just use the default setup. In the prompt, you simply describe what you want. And ideally, you also include any visual preferences you have. Then you submit it and wait a second. Within about a minute, NotebookLM generates a visual explanation directly from your sources. And we all know how valuable visuals are. They make complex ideas much easier to understand, and many of us process information better when we can see it. Mind map, on the other hand, is a text-first choice. This is an example from one of the featured notebooks, a fast way to understand the overview landscape, the themes, and the logic of the material. Next, let's look at audio overview and video overview. These take a bit longer to generate, and in both the free and paid versions, they come with different usage limits. Because of that, they work best later in the workflow when your notebook already contains curated, high-quality sources. Audio overview actually used to be called podcast, which already tells you a lot about the intent behind it. And the video overview is honestly one of the most impressive output formats in NotebookLM. In many cases, it's good enough to stand on its own as a short YouTube-style video that's generated specifically for the topic you're interested in. For example, this presentation about lifespan has clean, well-designed slides, combined with solid information grounded in high-quality sources. I can see this is a perfect choice for onboarding new employees, creating a lecture, or explaining a topic quickly without building slides from scratch. Next are flashcards and quiz. These are very clearly designed for learning reinforcement. Flashcards help with active recall. In this example, you can see a set of flashcards with a question on the front and the answer on the back. And if you want to go a little deeper, you can tap Explain, and NotebookLM will expand the answer using the original sources. That makes flashcards perfect for things like exam preparation, interview questions practice, or reinforcing key concepts over time. Quiz is more about self-diagnosis. It's a great way to check whether you actually understand a topic, and more importantly, to quickly spot the gaps in your knowledge. Reports and slide deck sit in the same category because they represent a shift from understanding information for yourself to explaining it to others. Slides, of course, are more presentation-oriented. This is the slide deck I generated for the comparison between fast research and deep research. And considering how little effort this takes, the quality is honestly very impressive. You can download the slides, but right now they're exported as a static PDF. That means the context isn't editable. Hopefully that's something Google will improve in the future, especially as they integrate NotebookLM more deeply with their workspace tools. So these are the output formats NotebookLM offers right now. And this is really where NotebookLM starts to save you a lot of time. You don't have to leave the workspace or rebuild the same content in another tool. You just reshape what you already trust into something usable. Now we've walked through the single job and workflows that NotebookLM is designed around: discovery, interaction, transformation. In discovery, NotebookLM gives you intentional control over your thinking environment. In interaction, it helps you structure your thinking without the distractions. And in transformation, it lets you re-encode information into formats your brain actually understands. So at this point, you don't just know about the features, you know how to think with this product. That's when you start to master it. You're no longer just reacting to whatever the tool gives you, you are directing the tool to follow your thinking. And that's where the real leverage is.